Today I am going to be reading to you a fairy tale, a very well-known fairy tale called Cinderella. I thought it would be nice, in honor of the month of February and my way of celebrating Valentine's Day and everything love and romance. I will be posting several videos with those kind of themes. So, without further ado, let's begin the story. Cinderella. There once was a rich man whose wife lay sick, and when she felt her end drawing near, she called to her only daughter to come near her bed and said, "Dear child, be good and pious, and God will always take care of you. And I will look down upon you from the heaven and will be with you." And then she closed her eyes and died. The maiden went away every day to her mother's grave and wept. And was always pious and good. When the winter came, the snow covered the grave with a white covering, and when the sun came in the early spring and melted it away, the man took to himself another wife. The new wife brought 2 daughters home with her, and they were beautiful and fair in appearance, but at heart were black and ugly. And then begun very evil times for the poor stepdaughter. "Is this stupid creature to sit in the same room with us?" said they. "Those who eat food must earn it. She is nothing but a kitchen maid." They took away her pretty dresses and put on an old gray girdle and gave her wooden shoes to wear. "Just look now at the proud princess and how she is decked out," cried they, laughing. And then they sent her into the kitchen, where she was obliged to do heavy work from the morning to night. Get up early in the morning, draw water, make the fires, cook and wash. Besides that, the sisters did their utmost to torment her, mocking her and strewing peas and lentils among the ashes and setting her to pick them up. In the evenings, when she was quite tired out with her hard day work, she had no bed to lie on, but was obliged to rest on the hearth among the cinders. And because she always looked dusty and dirty, as if she had slept in the cinders, they named her Cinderella. It happened one day that the father went to the fair, and he asked his 2 stepdaughters what he should bring back for them. "Fine clothes," says one. "Pearls and jewels," said the other. "But what will you have, Cinderella?" said he. The first twig wanted to see where the beautiful maiden lived, but she escaped him and jumped up into the pigeon house.